The world's most advanced prediction technology is now available to all horse players. Equine Edge AI analyzes horse racing data in a way that's never been done before. And as part of our special summer promotion, we've got an exclusive offer only for our listeners and viewers. You can get this amazing service free for an entire month. Simply use the promo code FREEMONEY on the account sign-up page or go directly to equineedge.com/freemoney. That's EQUINEDGE.com/freemoney. With Del Mar and Saratoga underway, now is the perfect time to sign up for your free account and get familiar with the platform. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. We've got a loaded show for you today, folks. We're going to jump right in with our first guest. You know him from the fantastic work he does over at inthemoneypodcast.com, especially on the plus side of things, providing actionable stats information every weekend. He is horse player Matt Vagvolgyi. How are you, my friend?
Pete, doing great, man. It's Saratoga. How could you not be doing great? So I'm excited.
Super duper excited. Yesterday was a fantastic day. I've spoken about it in other places, but the vibes are good up there at the plant. Get there if you haven't already. Let's talk about the Saturday Pick 6. Got to dive right in. A lot to cover in not that much time. It kicks off with a baby race. Talked about this elsewhere in the show. We're going to talk about this later in the show with our buddy Sean Tugel, but we'll do a little bit of double duty here. From a Pick 6 point of view, Matt, how are you looking to kick this one off?
Well, always a real easy way to kick off the Pick 6, right? Like you said, baby race going long on the turf. I'm going to look at a couple. I'm going to look at the 3 rattle and roll. I think the 4 portfolio company, obviously, you got to take a look at with connections. I'd probably use both of those as A's. I thought Rattle and Roll had a nice finish in that dirt race first out, but you look at McPeak, at Saratoga with these two-year-old turf routes, hitting that 22% with a positive 173% ROI. So certainly gets it done, places them well. So I certainly want to have Rattle and Roll in the ticket. Portfolio company for all the obvious reasons. Chad, Irad, they do struggle together though, going long on the turf. Those two together, and then I would say as a B, the 5, Never Say No. Just experience. I looked, last couple of years of Saratoga experience on the turf coming into these 2-year-old races have certainly been valuable. So those are the 3 I'm going to concentrate on in the first leg here.
I'll give my reasoning on some of these later in the segment with Tugel, but I had the 3, the 10, and the 4 as my A's in this spot. And I don't talk too much in the other segment about portfolio company, but just an obvious one and the Kitten's Joys. Also do well with cutting the ground, and it does appear like we're going to get some rain. So those are our numbers as we kick this off, and then we move on to the race that kicks off the late Pick 5. We've got 3 and up allowance types going 5.5 furlongs on the turf. In theory, if we stay on the turf, I felt that the entry was going to be awfully tough. Happy Mac, number 1, and 1A, Shecky Shabazz. I also had some admiration for the form line that both the 11 Ghoul and the 6 Duress come out of, and might be using them as well. Very curious though, Matt, to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's similar here. It does stay on the turf. I think Shecky Shabazz is going to be difficult to beat. I think that odd combination that I love to see of the strongest early pace figure and strongest late pace figure, I think is going to be tough to run down in the end. I did like the 6 Duress as well. Second off the layoff, I thought it was a nice effort off the bench. Should stalk that pace. I don't know if this horse is good enough to run down a Shecky Shabazz, but those are the 2 that I really liked. I thought the 2 and the 4, especially the 4 Super Dormy, if there is a real deep cut in the ground, I felt like that one is a horse to move up, which it does sound like the weather is coming. So the only meteorologist that I trust on this planet, Marshall Sterling, is not giving a good diagnosis for Saturday's races. So, but you never know. Saratoga is the most impossible place for weather, especially now living here. You look outside, it's sunny on one side of the house and it's pouring on the other. So that's possible.
That's true. That's not a joke. That actually, the microclimate situation here, I mean, there's flash floods and there's cars covered in water in Albany, and it didn't rain here the other day. I mean, it rained here, but not like that, and not at the same time. It's bizarre, and anything can happen. So don't make the mistake of writing off the day because there's some showers forecast.
Yeah, for sure. So those are the ones that I like. Very similar to you, Pete. But I'm going to lean heavy on the entry and the 6 duress, and with a couple backups there with the 3. I'm sorry, with the 2 and the 4 as well.
All right, I'm going to put the 1 entry and the 6 on your top line. Okay, let's talk about this 8th race, the return to the races of Crowded Trade, 3-and-up allowance going 7 on the dirt. And we'll keep it with you, Matt. What do you like?
I'm going to take a look at the 1, Bolium. It looks to be a pretty fast pace, but I think it's a horse that can that can take it. It drew off impressively last out. I mean, there's a lot to like here. I think improvement is certainly going to be there as well. Again, another horse back-to-back races that in my figures, top early and late pace figures, again, always deadly, especially at Saratoga at that 7 furlong distance. So looking at the 1 Bolium and as well, Crowd Trade as well. I think if there's any horse, if Bolium does get softened up, I think there's some cheaper speed up front, so I think would be able to handle it. Although the 11, what do you think now? I think has a bit of talent, staying power there on the front end, so that could be interesting in terms of the pace. But I thought Crowded Trade could be the one to run down the pace setters in the end. So I'm going to use the 1 and the 10. Pretty evenly, and obviously the 12. If we get sloppier conditions, I want to use how do you say that, Pete?
Mahamel is what I was going to say.
I would certainly upgrade just based off that muddy efforts at Belmont. Certainly would want that horse in the mix as well. So 1, 10, and 12 for me. Again, if it's muddy, I'm going to put that 12 on the A line.
All right, I like the sound of it. I had Crowded Trade on top. Thought would get a good setup with the apparent pace, taking a significant drop in class, and I thought had a chance to prove the best finisher in this spot. One that you didn't mention that I'll give a little shout to is the 7 Witzel, who I thought was impressive on debut, winning well with a little bit of a trip. Should move up, I think, in the first start for the Chad Brown barn. And then you mentioned about Mahamel. I'm thinking this is not necessarily a need the lead type, might do well with stock and pounce tactics. That's a trip I sometimes like in a race that has a lot of apparent speed. Your affection for the 1 Bolium is making me consider including as the probable best of speed. I was thinking there might be too much pace, but you make a compelling case for that Steve Asmussen runner. So I might throw the 1 in on the B line. And with that, we'll move on to our graded stakes action, starting with the 2-year-olds in the Sanford going 6 on the dirt. Matt, how do you see this one?
Really boring. I can't get by Wit. I tried. I can't get by this horse. It's just, again, when you look at it, I just think, was very impressive first out, obviously. I think it's the exact same race in this one as well. So I just think quick up front, I think it's going to stalk, save ground, and just pounce late. I think it's going to be very difficult to get by this horse. So this is going to be the lone A for me. If you want to give some, I guess a fly in the ointment a little bit here is looking at Pletcher in graded stakes on the dirt at Saratoga. 0 for 11 last year and just 7 for 80 in the last 5 years. I thought that was very, very, very surprising to me. But again, like I said, I've never seen a trainer hit the wire first in a race. I think the horse is super talented, and I think Wit is going to be very, very difficult to beat in this race. So I'm pretty boring, but that's going to be the key of my pick 6.
I have nothing to add. I'll talk about the race a little bit later with Sean. It's all about Wit for me in the horizontals in this spot. If you're looking for runners to come with, the 2 Candy Landing makes a lot of sense. has to improve, I think, given how Brendan Walsh second-time starters typically improve. And then Dance Code, usable off the Parks debut. The honor code babies get better with time, experience, and distance, as we've seen. All of that's in play here. So Wit is my A. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. 2-5 as backups for me. And now we'll move on.
I would throw in Marilyn Brando too a little bit. Just
okay. What's the number?
Number six. Okay. Just on a pace perspective. If it's anything like what I saw yesterday of this kind of a tiring track, and that speed hangs around, especially in that first race was tough to watch. It's a stagger fest coming down the lane. It looked like Caroline Street at 5 a.m. But, if that's the same, I think we might see something similar here where that speed might hang around for a bit. That's another one I would consider as well.
That's a great line. Everybody knows about those Saratoga zombies you see at the bars at 4 a.m. Though, to be fair, it's been a minute since I was up that late, as Brian Natto reminded me yesterday when I spoke to him. Okay, it's the Diana Grade 1 action on this opening Saturday. Really neat race this time around. I was going to try Pocket Square. Tricky trip in the Just a Game. Caught very wide as the winner rallied up the inside. Looks to be working forwardly. Expected cut in the ground. No problem for this one. That was an impressive winner on heavy turf in France. The other one I really want is the 5. Harvey's Little Goyle. Distance too far the last day. The turn back should suit. Positional speed to get a great trip, and that last work just leapt off the page, suggesting that now might be the time for a really nice effort from Harvey's Little Goyle. I'm 2-5 in this spot. Who do you like, Matt?
Exactly the same. 2-5, so nothing more to add on those. The other one I'm going to add in on the A line is Summer Romance, the 6. I just think this is the horse where, we've all been in that, where you're just yelling at the screen, is anyone going to go with this horse? Is anyone going to go with this horse? I think that could be the case here, and winds up getting onto the line first. So the 6 would be the only one that I would add in there to your 2, Pete. Again, Pocket Square, I'm high on. If I get anywhere near that morning line price, probably will be the biggest bet I'll make of the day on that runner. But I just thought Summer Romance to add on there could steal on the front end.
All right, good stuff. Let's talk about our nightcap on this Saturday Belmont card. And what do we have going for us here? We've got a nice looking maiden race, 3 and up, going 7 on the dirt. Matt, how are we going to get paid?
I think you can get out of here with 2 horses. I think the 7 and the 8. The 7 is a Ducal, and the 8 Asking for a Baskin, which I love that name. For many reasons.
A name that JK would appreciate.
Yes, yeah, I figured that. It was probably the thing that everyone started to watch when you realized you weren't going anywhere for a while last year. I think, again, when looking at both of these horses here, I think for the 7 Ducal, I think the repeat of the last start will get it done here. I think should improve second out. Churchill Shippers doing very, very well at Saratoga. They continue to do well. So I do like the 7 as well as the 8. Again, Asking for a Baskin. Another one, nice effort first on the dirt. I think we'll move up. If it's an off track, I'll move this horse up a bit as well. But those are the 2 A's. I thought the 3 Deferred Taxes was interesting, getting on the dirt for the first time. I just think the horses on the turf, this horse's run with certainly puts his colt in play. So I thought that was interesting at a price, but I think you can get out of here 7-8. Curious if you had any additions to that.
Couple others. I had the 8 as a B. I had the 7, which I'm guessing is Ducale. I think it's the Italian pronunciation. Supposed to improve in the second start for Brad Cox. Bet on debut. Didn't have the easiest go of things. Worked forwardly since. That's funny. Asking for a Basket. Of course, it's a Carol Baskin, a Tiger King reference. My brain went right to ice cream. But either one, JK, really? JK, Baskin Robbins. JK, a huge fan though of both ice cream and Tiger King.
That's interesting. That worked on both angles. That's really interesting.
He's got to bet even if he doesn't like the horse, he's got to throw it in his pick 6. The 2 others I was going to mention, also as B's, the 2 Cool Quest. Must use. Actually, Cool Quest might even be I'm going to make Cool Quest an A as well. Caught money for a trainer that often gives them a race. Showed a little speed too. So a couple of really important hints at ability. I think Cool Quest is going to improve and could be in the mix. And then the 6 Aban, worth a look at a price. This is a new gelding for an ever potent barn. Not one I'd want to be beating me out of my exotics. And we're just about out of time here, Matt. A quick closing thought for you as we approach this opening Saturday.
Just looking forward to it. Getting up to I'll be at the spa on Sunday, pretty much throughout the rest of the meet. I got to make it a point to get to Marshall Graham's place. He's got my whiskey that I've got to get into. The over-under is 48 hours of that lasting, which the first one went way under. So I'm looking forward to the new batch there. And just looking forward to getting up to the track, seeing you, Pete, seeing a lot of folks that have reached out that I've connected with through the horse racing world, and they're all showing up this year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Make sure you check out Matt's fantastic stats piece in themoneypodcast.com/plus to learn more about that. And Matt, we will see you soon. And as we say goodbye to Matt and we say goodbye to Talking Saratoga, we say hello to another friend. He's in a different spot this week. The weather looks pretty nice out there in Southern California. From Equine Edge, we now have Scotty McKeever to talk about the Del Mar Pick 6. Scotty, how are things?
Oh, they're good, Peter. How are you?
Oh, life is great. I was just out there, and as crazy as it is in one sense to leave Del Mar as a Saratoga guy who fantasized about a key moment as we get past this pandemic being opening day at Saratoga, I had to take a pass on Del Mar opening day this year. But I'm looking at you and I'm feeling a lot of FOMO.
Oh, the energy here is off the chain. Obviously, from last year missing, you know how passionate people are about Saratoga, but equally here on the West Coast, we're extremely passionate about Del Mar, and you can feel that energy, and you can see everyone's out here. I'm staying at the Del Mar Hilton down here, right across the street from the track, and I mean, 99% of people here at this hotel, and it's a big hotel, are here for Del Mar, and you can feel it. They've got their forms, hopefully they've got their Equine Edge. And they're having a good time already and ready for opening day, starting at 2 p.m. Pacific. Of course, we've got the San Diego Handicap today. That goes off as race number 10, which is part of this Pick 6.
We'll get to that, and we'll talk about that. And we didn't, since we segued directly, I realized from the previous segment, I didn't do my read yet. So I'm going to do the read in show. Maybe you can help me with it, talking about Equine Edge, especially the special deal we have exclusively for In the Money people, where you can get the program for a month, check out all the features, really have a chance to play with it and get familiar with it. This is something I can tell you from experience you can use right out of the box, but the more time you spend and the ability to play around and see the different attributes, it's really something. And you can get it two different ways. You can go to the Equine Edge website and you can fill in the promo code free money, or you can go to equineedge.com/free money and get there. And I'm going to spell out the website for you. It's EQUINEDGE.com. So you're going to want to check that out. This is an all new handicapping tool. I love that it's looking at things that don't feel to me like they're priced into the market at all at this point. And Scotty's success betting and his success in the contest world both would play to that. Matt Vagvolgyi, who we just had on, he hit a big pick bet last weekend at Belmont. He said he didn't really have time to handicap. He took a quick look. He used the ticket generator on Equine Edge, and he ended up with a nice score. And I'm sure you hear that, Scotty, from your users all the time.
We're hearing it, yeah. Over at the La Berge here in San Diego, it's a really nice hotel. There was a party for Del Mar had this party, Red Feather Racing, Great Friends Stable. They were all there. Really fun time last night, and it was amazing all the people that were coming up to me saying, "You've changed my life. This program is so simple, easy to use, straightforward metrics." It's completely subjective tool, which is great because a lot of us like to have our coffee, drinking the coffee in the morning and handicapping. I don't want anybody to tell me what to play. I just need some metrics that are going to be fast, and you're going to save a ton of time handicapping. And here's the crazy part. I had somebody new that I just started playing. I used the platform, and he said, "I'm having the best time. My friends that have been handicapping forever, all of a sudden I'm giving them horses and they're like, 'How are you doing this?'" And so the word is starting to spread, and it's pretty neat, and it's neat to be down here as well and seeing all the people that are using it. So I'm excited. I'm expecting a lot of people in the NHC at the end of August. I'm expecting to see a lot of people using Equine Edge.
One more plug to get in before we start. You're going to be doing all kinds of work on the Equine Edge YouTube channel and also on the Del Mar simulcast feed, not just picking horses, but also talking about the products.
Yeah, so I start today, 105 with John Lees. I'm doing the simulcast all summer long at Del Mar. So I'm like an official Del Mar employee. It's really neat. I got a little badge, a Del Mar badge. I should have brought it down here. It's like, it's a proud moment for me because I mean, I remember driving down that 5 freeway, going to Del Mar opening day. There is nothing in the world like it if you're here on the West Coast. And those of you that love Del Mar know what I'm talking about. And there's nothing like it. And to be down here, I'm going to be down here all meet long. I'm right across the street from the track. It's just an incredible feeling. Last year was a bit depressing, but you know what? It's gone. Moving on. We'll see. Will Baffert win the training title here at Del Mar? That's going to be an interesting topic, right?
It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out. There's a whole lot of storylines in play, and we'll be following them all summer long, largely with you, Scotty, in the Del Mar seat. We'll probably move you. You can talk about anywhere, so we may bring you back to talk East Coast at some point and bring in some of our other Del Mar friends as well. We'll see how it all plays out, or do more of a roundtable format at some point. But now I think we should talk about these races in this Pick 6 on opening Saturday. We start off with race number 6. We have 3 and up claimers, $16,000 level, going 6.5 on the dirt. How are we going to get this thing kicked off, my friend?
Well, I do think, I don't know that it's a single, but I will say this: Gates of Heaven, the 6 horse. I think Juan Hernandez, first of all, is going to have a huge meet. I think he's going to contend with Pratt for the jockey title. I really do. For Shelby Ruiz, and I think they could win this race. They have a good jockey trainer combination. And I think the 6 horse Gates of Heaven could be tough. The 8 horse Manitowish, I think for Doug O'Neill. I know Doug's not in town, but I think this horse deserves a lot of look, especially on the drop from 50,000 claimer here from Churchill Downs. Winning you're in, so you get that bonus here at Del Mar. You got a $25,000 purse. Non-1 is a 2 lifetime. Only 7 races. I think I'm using the 2, 6, and 8.
All right, 2, 6, 8 for Scotty, and clearly my looking at Equine Edge is rubbing off on me, because the 6 and the 8 were the 2 I wanted to talk about. Gates of Heaven, I did notice, you have a bunch of different algorithms baked into the software that you can take what you will from. I did notice that was the Scotty algorithm, the one based on your own old school handicapping principles, essentially. The software came up with Gates of Heaven, getting back to the dirt, and a fig near that maiden win would do it. And then the 8 Manitowish comes out very well. Looking at the win percentage number in Equine Edge versus the predicted price of the horse, the Equine Edge morning line, which is another great feature. Manitowish 22% predicted to win, and the morning line suggests that the horse might be 7-1. That was eye-catching to me, and the horse just made sense. It all went wrong the last day, but Manitowish fits on the body of work. So 6-8 for me in that spot as we move to race number 7, where we've got quarter claimers going 3 and up, going 1 mile. They are 3 and up, and we're on the turf. Interesting race. The ship in and win bonus might be very much in play here, at least the way that I'm thinking about it as a guy who typically does prefer those East Coast type horses when they ship out west. The 8 stage ready looks ready to my eye. We'll put a test to the theory early on in the Del Mar meet. I was also going to use the 5 Luck of the Draw. Another Mike Maker runner, has a case to be the best speed in the group, and one to benefit potentially if the closers get too far back. I would also use the 4 French Getaway, very strong on late sectionals, was against the flow of the race last time, and there does look to be plenty of pace in here. Scotty, how do you see it?
Well, this is the widest open race. For our win percentage, I don't think I've ever seen this actually. Our top win percentage is the 9 horse, the Black Album. And this horse, it's a French bred, but only 15% to win. So if that doesn't tell you how tough this particular race is, I mean, it's just incredibly tough. I'm not even for a second going to tell you that I think I know who's going to win. I would just say this: Snazzy Dresser, the 10 horse, is going to be sent, and the horse is good enough to win this race. Is 15-1 in the morning line. But here's the thing: on the EE morning line is 6-1. I thought that was interesting, and the fact that this horse has got 4 wins and 10 tries, the horse likes to win or nothing. I think the horse deserves a look. I'm kind of leaning towards the 4, 5, 9, and 10.
All right, 4, 5, 9, and 10 will be the run for Scotty in that race, and we'll move it right on to race number 8. We've got 3 and up allowance types going a mile on the dirt, and Scotty, we'll keep it with you.
Well, I mean, in what appears to be a really tough sequence, I think we're going to end up seeing a really nice payout here in this pick 6. I really do. And the late pick 5 at Del Mar tomorrow is going to be enormous, most likely. I mean, sometimes you can get these favorites to win, but I don't know what people are going to key on. I didn't see, for me, I thought the best single was an upside had to be Bruto for Bob Baffert. Abel Cedillo aboard is 5-1 on the morning line, but 2-1 on the EE morning line. I thought I was probably going to have to single Bruto. I think this horse is going to go off as the favorite.
I think that sounds right. Scratched out of the race on Friday to come here as well. Maybe a sign of confidence, potentially, or a sign of something. But what about backups? Did you have any for this race?
Yeah. Beyond Brilliant, the 4-horse, 14%. I think this horse deserves a look. Broke its maiden last time out. It was a weaker maiden group, but it was a straight maiden group. Based on our SOR, which stands for strength of race, it was a 44, where the mean is 50. So that's a weaker group, but it did do it easy. Went off at 30 cents in the dollar. Won by 7 lengths. I think this horse for John Sheriffs. I think John Sheriffs could win a couple of races. I think John Sheriffs is gonna have a very good meet. Just not gonna run a ton of horses, but Beyond Brilliant could be tough to beat. So maybe I would throw the 4 in there. And other than that, maybe the 8-horse, Mr. Impossible for Simon Callahan. Maybe it's a sign. I saw Simon Callahan yesterday, and he was out to dinner and hanging out and here in Del Mar, and I had met him for the first time. Really nice guy, and maybe he's going to get a win here. Throw out the Grade 3 race last time out. He must have thought highly about this horse to break its maiden by a length and a quarter on the 16th of May. And then all of a sudden put this horse in the affirmed Grade 3. So the fact that he feels that confident, maybe the 8 as well, the 8 and 9, 4, 8, 9.
All right, 4, 8, and 9, with the 9 being the clear cut top one for Scotty in that spot. I have a couple others to mention. The 2, Tis Hot and Dusty, I just thought looked interesting on closing sectionals in a race where it felt like there was a potential for them to maybe go too fast. Maybe if the race does hold together, I like the sprint to route move for number 6, Palace Coup. That was another number, the 6 that I wanted to have on there. And then Bruto, the other that seems likely to be the best speed proving type who did it well last time. There'll be plenty of 9s on my ticket. I was going to spread things around 2, 6, and 9. And now we move on to race number 9. And we've got stakes action here with the Oceanitas Stakes going 1 mile on the turf. Scotty, I'm going to send it back to you.
All right. Well, this 2-horse Setamar is an interesting horse. Is 4-1 in the morning line, has a 75 GSR, which is tops in the field, stands for genetic strength rating for those new people. But 14 races here, 8 furlongs in the turf lifetime, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and 3/3, and also has a really nice SOR, strength of race. These are all things that are pointing towards this 2-horse Setamar running a good race. The Buena Vista was too tough. Throw that out. I think this horse is a player here in this non-graded stakes race. 2 back, barely lost in the Megahertz Grade 3 with trouble, was 5 wide, altered course. Grade 3s, non-graded stakes races, depending on how strong the non-graded stakes race is, they can be about even. I think the 2-horse Setamar is a major player, and I'm using the 2, 4, and 9.
2, 4, and 9. I have Tapwater, the 9 in the mix. I definitely understood the cases for the ones you mentioned. That 9 Brook that you mentioned, that's my top pick. Maybe the poor start and attending the fast pace took the starch out of the finish last time. Looked like a runner likely to improve. Second off the layoff. Tapwater, the turn back, looks like just the thing for this one. And then the 5, Epidemia's Girl, did not have an easy trip in the top one's last race. Another who I thought could just go better with a smooth run through. I'll take another look at the 2 based on your say-so as well. But now we're going to talk about the featured race of the day. It's the Grade 2 San Diego for 3 and up, going 1 mile and a 16th on the dirt. Key prep race for the Pacific Classic a little bit later in the meet. I'll get my opinion out of the way because it's so straightforward. The 4 Royal Ship just looks best on figures and form, has come on so well since being gelded. And just taking a look at these morning works, even without a Clocker report, looks like a runner who continues to improve. Scotty, I'll ask you, is it as simple as Royal Ship in this year's San Diego?
I think the only thing I'm worried about a little bit is the GSR, our genetic strength rating, drops a little bit, going 8.5 furlongs. So this horse has been running 9 furlongs, won that in the Californian Grade 2, which is big, and then goes in the Gold Cup Grade 1, barely loses going 10 furlongs, but now cuts back. Well, 8.5 furlongs is obviously a different distance, but it can run differently. Whereas when you're going 9 furlongs, you're going 10, you're just kind of going slow, and then you kind of everybody's making a mad rush to the finish line. So although I think Royal Ship's going to be right there, I'm going with Express Train, the 5-horse. I really do think the race is between those two. And I think that at this distance of 8.5 furlongs, the GSR is 72. It's very, very good. I think John Sheriffs and Juan Hernandez win another one here with Express Train, 4-year-old colt by Union Rags. I like this horse tomorrow.
Right. It makes perfect sense to me. Those do look like the two to beat. We have, each of us has preference for the opposite one, but they'll both be on a whole lot of tickets. Let's talk about our nightcap 3-year-old allowance runners going 1 16th on the turf, the anchor leg, the pay leg for all of these picks that we're talking about, the pick 6 and this late pick 5. No new picks to start. You're stuck with the old pick 1 if you're not alive to anything when you head into this race. Scotty, how are we going to get paid?
Okay, so I'm going to come with one. I think the 10-horse Lincoln Hawk is going to probably be tough. And I'll tell you what, watch out for Joe Bravo. You got Richard Baltus, Joe Bravo. You know, when you talk about the best turf riders down here right now at Del Mar, it's going to be obviously Flavian Pratt. Umberto is going to be right there. You got JJ Hernandez, and then you've got Joe Bravo. Those 4 are going to make up probably 80% of the wins on the turf at Del Mar this meet. So watch out for them. Hard to leave them out. Spirit Maker is a horse who's got the top GSR, 1-for-1 at the distance. This horse broke its maiden for John Sadler, Trevor McCarthy, and been off since November. I think this horse is actually has a lot of talent, and I'm going to say that Spirit Maker could be really tough to beat. I'm only going with the 8 and the 10. I recognize that Jimmy Blue Jeans, who's 12-1 in the morning line, I will say this, top Scotty Pick. Here's what's interesting. Also has a good GSR, but 7-2 on the EE morning line. And top Scotty Pick. So, and then a really good GSR. So you have 3 different algorithms that are pointing you towards the one Jimmy Blue Jeans. So I think you could probably narrow this down to 1, 8, and 10.
Which one would you make the top pick from a value point of view? Would you go for that
me,
one?
For value, it's going to be Spirit Maker, the 8.
Okay, 8. So I'll put the 8 and then the 10 and then the 1 as another to get in the mix. I do think that's an excellent point when algorithms that are designed to look at the world a different way all line up and point to the same horse. That's a horse I'm going to definitely want to keep on side in number 1. I had Lincoln Hawk as the top pick. I felt that the setup was going to be great. Enough pace to set up the closing kick. But I definitely like the idea of including your 8 and your 1 in the mix after hearing you make the cases. Scotty, going to let you get on with your day, but fantastic getting to visit here with you a little bit. We encourage everybody to check out Equine Edge. There'll never be a better deal than the free month on offer now. Work it into your handicapping for Del Mar and Saratoga. We're going to be checking you out on the simulcast feed. Any closing thoughts for the viewers and listeners?
No, I mean, you can see the gentleman that came behind me, and you can hear people around me. The energy around here is just phenomenal. I mean, I get in chills just feeling this energy. I miss it so much. If you haven't had a chance to come down here to Del Mar, you absolutely need to put that on your bucket list. You won't regret it. It's incredible. And I wish everybody the best of weekends, win a lot of money at Del Mar, and then check us out, me and John Lees, on the simulcast feed. It goes off at 1:05. You can go to dmtc.com, or you can, any of your ADWs, and when you click on there, you'll see John and I for about a half hour there covering all the races over at Del Mar.
Good stuff, Scotty. Thank you, my friend. Godspeed out there.
All right. Same to you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it, Peter.
For the next segment of our show, we're cheating a little bit. What I mean by that is we're kind of mashing up, because normally we do these baby talk shows as standalone, but today we're going to put one as part of our late week show to give everybody a flavor for what they're all about. Yes, we're talking about bloodstock and breeding industry stuff, but we're very much doing it through the lens of horse players. So who better than from Gainesway to come on and chat about this one? Do we have a man who represents both of those things with his insider knowledge of the industry and also a horse player? He's Sean Tugel. Sean, what's up?
Oh, doing great, Pete. Happy to get another one of these going. A lot of races to talk about.
There's tons. Very quickly, we're gonna have to do everything very quickly today to fit it into the time frame of the show. But I want to do some looking back before we look forward. And I see the hat that you're wearing, and it's not by accident, is it?
No, it was exciting to see Mary Lou Whitney's colors finish, across the wire in a prestigious race at Schuylerville yesterday. How fitting was it that those colors were the race that won the graded stakes on opening day after the COVID year where no fans got to enjoy it. So pretty special moment. I'm sure Mr. Hendrickson enjoyed it, who I'm sure he was there, I believe. Not sure, but
had to be.
The filly was raised here, so it was pretty special. And good to see those colors winning those graded stakes races at Saratoga.
Very cool, and cool to see Norm Cassie get a graded stakes win at Saratoga as well. Pretty Birdie, was that the name of the beast?
There you go. There you go.
Very impressive in victory yesterday. We could do a whole show really recapping, but we have so much to cover. I think we should move along. And one thing I want to mention and make clear is this isn't just going to be a standalone show, Baby Talk, about Saratoga. We're going to be looking at races from around the country, and maybe that's a good place to start out on the West Coast, because on Saturday, very interesting baby race in race number 5. And there are some interesting first-time starters in here. My eye was drawn to one who did have a run under the belt, and that's number 3, Smash Ticket. Felt that was a solid race in the mud at Lone Star when looking at the clock. Wicked Halo came back to run third in that stake at Churchill Downs, showing speed there before getting past late. And then the runner that was third in that race and who Smash Ticket was well clear of also came back to win. So my eye was drawn there for sure. I'm sure a lot of people, such as myself, will be scratching our heads and wondering what to do with number 5, Censorship. It's always tricky when you see a horse bet so heavily on debut. I'm tempted to almost give an automatic pass in those spots, but Censorship's going to be bet heavily again and simply did no running that day. I'm maybe tempted to try to get creative, a runner like Smash Ticket, or maybe some of these first-time starters who are signed on. I did notice we had a couple of freshman sires in the mix in this spot. Sean, where's your eye drawn in this 5th race at Del Mar on Saturday for the 2-year-olds?
Yeah, certainly. You kind of have to start with Censorship. She was a high-priced filly out of the 2-year-old sales. She was a filly that caught a lot of people's eyes with her breeze there. So it was interesting that she did run so poorly for those connections after being purchased for such a lofty price, relative terms at the 2-year-old sales. I would expect probably a better performance second time out. And if she does run back to those low odds from either her first start or this coming start, she probably is tough to beat. I agree with you on the horse coming out of Lone Star. That's another circuit that's starting to get, better quality 2-year-old races early on. The purses there in Texas are getting better. And with the shipping and win programs they have there for, Del Mar, where they're recruiting in horses from some of these other circuits, we're going to have to pay attention to horses shipping in. But Klimt has a second-time starter from the rail. He's a freshman sire who has a couple winners already. Doug O'Neill can be dangerous second time out. And then Cupid has the outside horse, Field D'Amato. I believe that's first-time starter, and I think he's still looking for his first 2-year-old winner. So be interested to see how these Cupid, son of Tappet, get going.
Yeah, we got the Gainesway connection there as well by the sire of sires, Tappet, in the mix. Let's talk about Ellis Park, too, before we come and make our way back to Saratoga, Sean. There's a brace of 2-year-old races at Ellis on Saturday, starting in race number 3, which goes at 2:46. We've got a field of 6 with 2 who have a form in the book and 4 first-time starters, including one fancied on the morning line at 5-2, Mr. Buona for Dale Romans by Candy Ride. Where did your eye go in this spot?
I'm glad that you were the one who took the stab at how to pronunciate Mr. Buoma. So, look, Dale Romans, I think he's using Ellis Park as more of a springboard for his young horses. The purses there have gotten better. Recent horses that come to mind that he unveiled there was a horse like Dennis's Moment. So, he had a 59-1-2 back there. So it looks like he's got some zip to him. Certainly the rail is something to always question for a first-time starter. So he kind of quickly attracts my eyes a little bit. The horse on the outside, Totalizer, a horse there for Steve Asmussen. He's adding blinkers. It's again, this horse has already run once, but you look at those running lines and had a little bit of trouble to start there. So interesting that now he's going to be on the outside. Now he's going to have blinkers on. He's going to have a race under his belt, and he is 4-1 on the morning line. So, 5-2 on the rail for a first-time starter, but then you also have what I think is an interesting horse there on the outside at 4-1.
It is interesting. Similar angle to the censorship we talked about out west. Took all kinds of cash. Didn't show it. Just looking at the pedigree with Tapit on the bottom there, you wonder if more ground might be his friend. But he did have trouble at the start the last day. That's certainly notable. Another runner that had trouble at the break, and then again later in the race was the 2 Roger McQueen by Unified. This one also bet very heavily. If you made me make a selection in the spot, this is probably where I'd go for Larry Ravelli. We'll see how Roger McQueen ends up classing up against this bunch. But another I thought was worth mentioning in this third race at Ellis.
Absolutely, he's one that I think probably will go off favored. Having that race under his belt, Larry Ravelli trains for speed. He's very good with 2-year-olds. I think he definitely is probably the one to beat in this race, and he's by the first-year freshman sire Unified, who already has a black type winner to his resume as well.
Let's move on to race number 4. We've got the 2-year-old maidens going a mile on the turf. I love that these days we're getting more mile plus grass racing for 2-year-olds at this time of the year. It used to be not until the fall. So I think that's a positive change over the course of the last few years. Lot of interesting runners in this spot. Lucky Boss is your morning line favorite. Ken McPeak, a trainer that has terrific marks with these 2-year-old grass races at a mile and above. We'll talk about one of his running at Saratoga later, but the Lucky Boss certainly seems like a live contender in here who should get a good trip on or near the front end. Who in this spot did you want to talk about?
I was drawn straight to the Mark Casse horse, the American Pharoah, who's stretching out. I always like that sprint route. Again, you already have a 2-year-old that has 2 races under its belt, so fitness should not be a question here. The American Pharoahs seem to be running very well, going 2 turns on the turf. They're kind of running on dirt turf, short and long, but there's a lot of class there with Mark Casse. And interesting that Landero stays there on that mount. He's kind of been a first call rider for the Brissett stable, and that's another horse that I'm kind of drawn to, the son of Tapit. He's a full brother to Belmont Stakes winner and Arkansas Derby winner Creator. So Creator actually started out on the turf his first couple races just because he was definitely a route of ground type horse. So Rudolph has told me specifically he kind of saw what Asmussen did with Creator and he's following that path. So that's why you see him show up here on the turf. He wants the 2 turns. So those 2 are horses that I think Tempo Madness would be where I land on the victory, and it'd be interesting to see how Western River runs, and definitely one to maybe keep an eye on down the road for the summer. Great
notes there, and I think we're seeing right off the bat that Ellis Park, while people don't think of it in the same terms for 2-year-olds as Saratoga and Del Mar, going to have some interesting stuff for people who follow the industry and people who like to bet baby races to pay attention to this summer. Such a divisive category of race. I'm in the camp of those who absolutely love baby races, especially when we get a chance to be there in the paddock. I feel like the horse players are very divided. Some of them love it, Sean, and some of them that are just so number on the page in front of them oriented can struggle with the category.
Yeah, it's fun. I like to see the diversity, and I'm glad there's more opportunities certainly for this category.
Let's move on to Saratoga. We got 2 races to talk about from the spa. Let's start off with race number 5. 3:23 is the scheduled post time for this maiden special weight. A lot of interesting ways to potentially go in this spot. Very curious to hear what you thought of it.
Again, Asmussen looks loaded with the 2-year-old. He's on the outside there, the 9-5 favorite. Echo Zulu was a horse that we mentioned on the show 2 back, and here you go again. You've got multiple 46 flat breezes, so the speed is not a question here. Interesting, it was a $110,000 OBS purchase, but it is a midnight loot. He was a champion sprinter, so there's a lot. It's hard to pass this. Certainly on a pedigree standpoint, you're interested to see how Montauk Point, the half brother to Confefe champion, shows up here for Shug McGahee, the firster. He's been known to pop with the firster every once in a while. Code of Honor and Honor Code are two that come to mind here at Saratoga with the 2-year-old. Those are two that interest me. Seal Beach, the midshipman there for Mike Maker and 3 Diamonds. Those are good connections. So that horse, I think, could make some noise in this race as well.
That is some damn side pedigree, some pedigree overall on Montauk Point. Obviously, you mentioned Kofefe, but I think it's 6 foals to make it to the races, 6 winners. So, I mean, maybe needs the race, but obviously has to be in consideration. And that's one where I feel like the paddock inspection will tell all. And if you can't get out to the paddock bar rail with me to watch him come in, I'm sure Maggie Wolfendale will have great information on the America's Day at the races broadcast as far as that one goes. I did want to mention, at least quickly, the number 5 in here, Uninvited Guest by Distorted Humor. This one debuted at Monmouth and was on a rail the day that I didn't think the rail was that good. So based on that, I think a lot of people might overlook on the figure. I think Uninvited Guest can potentially run a lot better. And I think people are going to see Monmouth, they're going to see a low figure, and they're going to think, how's this one going to class up? But I think Uninvited Guest might be able to take a step forward. Do you lean against these Pletcher or Chad Brown runners at Saratoga, Sean, when they're based at Monmouth? Do you see that as a negative?
Not necessarily. You know, a horse that comes to mind is a horse commissioner who ran at Monmouth first time out and then came back in a second race at Saratoga and won. It's a race under their belt. Maybe there wasn't something at Belmont that was available. You know, maybe their B horses do end up, you know, down at Monmouth as opposed to Saratoga, but you know, it could be a factor of just getting a race under their belt. So watch the board, see how the money does. That's going to tell you more than anything. The one horse that I was going to, you know, I was between that Distorted Humor or the Detroit City there of Jack Sisterson's, who already has a race under his belt. He won a race yesterday on opening day. Jack, he's a very capable trainer. So that horse had a little bit of trouble in his start, and he may be an interesting horse with Johnny V on there at a price to use.
Let's hop to the next race, race number 6, 3:55 Eastern. For this one, you can play a baby race double if you want. My eye went immediately to number 3, Rattle and Roll. I really liked this debut run, not breaking at all, having a very educational experience, ending up 3rd in a race where you wouldn't have even minded if Rattle and Roll had packed it in. And I mentioned before some very good stats around. Matt Vagvolgyi picked this one up in the stats piece he did for our In the Money Plus listeners with McPeak at Saratoga baby races at a mile or over. And the numbers are pretty much awesome. And the horse just makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure about the pedigree for turf, but you see Johannesburg in there. I got to figure, given McPeak's record of success, that this one's well spotted. What do you like in here?
I mean, I can't really disagree with you at all there, Pete. McPeak and those stats speak for themselves. I also get attracted when Mike Maker, kind of same thing. I'm going to take the dog ate my homework on this one because I never even looked at the PP. So
I thought we said we were talking about this race. Maybe it's a host fail. There's one more we have to talk about, though, okay. Sean. Number 10, Great Britain. Look at the blood on this beast. By English Channel out of Rutherienne, who I'm sure you remember. Terrific race mare who's dropped 3 winners from 4 starters. Graham Motion, an under-the-radar, sneaky good firster trainer at Saratoga, attracts the services of John Velasquez for our pals at Eclipse Thoroughbreds. And something we should point out, rain in the forecast, and assuming the race stays on the turf, when there's rain on the turf, I move up those English channels. I move up those Kitten's Joys. And Great Britain is one that I felt like at least deserved a quick mention in this spot before we move things along to our stakes race, where I'll let you take the lead, assuming you got to look at this.
Yeah, I mean, Rutherienne was an awesome race. I remember her winning. I believe Christophe Clement trained her for Mrs. Payson. She's been a good producer. Some of her daughters are produced. So certainly the pedigree's there. And like you said, English Channel is one of the most underrated superstar stallions that we have. I think he was leading turf sire last year. Him, Kitten's Joy, Warfront here in America. They're superstar turf sires, and they win a lot of races. And so when you put, one of the best turf sires to one of the best turf producing mares, then, you should get a superstar, right? It's that easy.
Breed the best to the best and hope for the best. A wise man.
I'd be interested to see how tall this horse is in the pad, because Rutherian's about knee high and English Channel is much bigger.
Well, we'll give you the report. We'll send out a tweet on that come post time. Let's talk about the Sanford very quickly. I'm a huge fan of Wit. So impressive on the Belmont Day undercard. And I said it aloud to no one in particular. I'm not sure my 8-year-old daughter knew what I was talking about when I said, Perrin, there's your hopeful winner. Didn't break at all, moved through the field, finished up the race well, earned a figure that should really be improved upon in this spot. And if Witt improves that figure, I think the rest are running for second. Is it that easy?
Well, I mean, I hope so, Pete. We're part owner there, and I can tell you there was a range of emotions during that main special race. So I don't know if you're just plugging so that that's down the road. You want a breeding right if you want to hopeful, but I hope you're right. Certainly, this race screams all about freshman sires, which we're talking a lot about. Start on the rail there with Witt. He's been training great. We hope he shows up. Certainly, he didn't break great in his first start, and now drawing the rail in a full field, gives you a little bit of apprehension. But a lot of times you'll see these horses improve a lot from the first to second start. So if he breaks sharp, he certainly has the speed, and he should be able to make the pace and make the race. Hopefully he does that. But you're also drawn to the 7-horse Ottoman Empire. He's a classic Empire who has first 2-year-olds. They're running and winning quite a bit. Amos is already off the duck, having gotten out of the way with that nice 2-year-old winner there yesterday. I think with Tom Amos over the last 2-3 years since he's hooked up with Lauren Carlisle, have you really seen an elevated horse flesh in his barn? So and you're seeing that on the race track now with Serengeti Empress, and now these 2-year-olds that have really been blowing up the tote board and running off the screen there the last couple of years. So I think Ottoman Empire is definitely one you got to keep track of there. It's a good barn, and they train for speed. And then you got the headline report, Wesley Ward and the Gormley, another freshman sire who's had plenty of winners. And so those three kind of, are leading the way there for the freshman sire race.
Microbiome, right? That was the nice winner for Amos yesterday. Actually, John Imbrial, who does a lot more homework than me, pronounced it microbiome. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not bio. Anyway, we'll get confirmation on that, but it was an impressive race to be sure. Anything else, Sean, you want to talk about before we let you get on with your day here and get ready for this huge weekend of racing?
Oh, we're getting ready here at Gainesway. Hopefully Hot Rod Charlie runs a big race.
Of course.
In the Haskell, and it'd be a hell of a double there if we can pull off the Sanford with Witt and the Haskell with Hot Rod Charlie. So it'd be a hell of a day at Gainesway if we can pull that off.
Well, it's fantastic segue. It's as if we planned it. I didn't. That we end with Hot Rod Charlie, because Sean, we're going to let you go, and we're going to bring in our next two guests to talk about Monmouth and to talk about this Haskell Day card. We have with us now, returning to the In the Money airwaves, Frank Mirahmadi and Brian Skirka. How are you, gentlemen? And I use that term loosely.
You should do it very loosely if I'm involved in that introduction.
I'm doing well, Pete. How are you?
Things are great. Well, Sean gave us the perfect segue to the Haskell, talking about Hot Rod Charlie, the Gainesway involvement in there. And I'm doing something that I always question my sanity a little bit when I do when it comes to the Haskell. We'll start here, and then we'll loop back and we'll talk about some of the other stakes. But the segue was too good. Based on what we saw in the Belmont Stakes, that form looked so good. The Hot Rod Charlie and Essential Quality throwing down in the stretch there, and Hot Rod Charlie, you can argue, ran the better race, as I think I did on these airwaves. If that race is built upon at all, everybody's probably running for second. But at the prices with some other intriguing contenders, I think I'm going to try to fade the most likely winner, which, even as I say it out loud, for somebody who bets a lot of horizontals, maybe isn't the sharpest plan in the world. But I want to hear what you guys think. Let's start with you, Frank. What's your view as from a horse playing perspective on this year's Haskell?
Well, very excited about the race, obviously, but I'm glad. Don't be upset with me, but I'm glad you mentioned that Hot Rod Charlie ran the better race, because everybody seems to be saying this, and Andy Serling, of course, who's to say he's opinionated is the understatement of the year. In fact, if you don't see the race exactly as Andy did, let's face it, you're a complete imbecile. That's just the way it is. I strongly disagree that he ran the better race. This is a topic that drives me absolutely crazy. Essential Quality, in a period of a mile and a half, ran him down with a wide trip, was drawing away from him in the final stages. And so I strongly disagree that he ran the better race. No offense to you. Because I would say, listen, if there was a prop wager, who has done better at the windows in their life, you or me, I'd put every penny on you. That's not even close. So I know that I'm not trying to speak as though I'm some authority. But one thing that drives me nuts, I think that we're in a world now where people do not like to accept the results of anything, including horse races, which is that it is what it is. And I'm not trying to get down that stupid road. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but
it's
I'm
okay.
trying to say it. But it's just everything is questioned. No matter what it is, everyone's always wondering. And in horse racing, everything that happens is questioned. Like, was the rail too good? Was the pace hot? Here's the thing. It was a mile and a half race. The wide horse, the classy horse, the favorite beat him. That said, take nothing away from Hot Rod Charlie. I'm going to stop for a quick segue and show you a nice treat here that was brought to me by our steward, Steve Pagano. These are officially called Red Chips, and they're from the original Italian bakery in Rhode Island. I mowed down a bag of these for breakfast yesterday. These are excellent. I want to let you know these things are in the on-deck circle. So this is the treat of the day.
We're getting bakery tips. We're getting horse tips. Continue, Frank.
He's a great horse, and I'm so excited. I'm so thankful to Team O'Neill and their entire team for bringing him to the TVG.com Haskell. On paper, he certainly appears to be the horse to beat, and he should be the horse to beat. His record speaks for itself. I'm going to pick, and it's not just because I wanted to put that this appearance is brought to you by Run Happy, but Following C is everything I believe in, which is a lightly raced horse who I knew about way before his debut when he was in Bob Baffert's barn in California. And the bottom line is this horse is speedy. I think the Run Happy progeny are doing better going long than sprinting.
And with time.
Yes, and he's a beautiful colt. I mean, this horse, I can't believe he lost his debut. He faces a tall order in here, but he's going to be on the rail. He's going to be on the lead, and everything I know about Monmouth Park, to go down the biased road of the world, speed is good at Monmouth Park. It historically has been. Catch him if you can. I think Brad Thomas put a savvy 3-1 morning line on him. That's my pick, but I'm going to wipe out all my thoughts and just enjoy a great race because we've got Mandaloon in there. And we've got some others, and anything can happen in horse races. We saw Arcong win the Breeders' Cup Classic, and certainly we can't ignore Midnight Bourbon either. I know our track photographer thinks he's going to be taking many pictures of Midnight Bourbon, including the one in the Run Happy winner's circle. My pick is Following C, wire to wire. He has that speed. I'm not going to say his stride reminds me of Farm Away, but Farm Away, when he went fast, didn't look like he was doing it. This horse has the same look to me. I'm picking him. Generally speaking, you should draw a line through my selections, but I'm going to say Following C, wire to wire. I'm going to say he drifts up and pays $9.60.
I can see it, and I like the specificity of the price proclamation. Hey, Brian, between the two of us filibustering, you haven't gotten a word in edgewise here yet. Let's bring you in for a perspective on this year's Haskell.
I'm wondering why I'm here. Frank woke up. He's on fire. I got no snacks. I have no story. Well, what am I doing here? But I hate to do it, but I agree with Frank. Almost on everything that he said, actually. I'll be a little shorter-winded on it, but I agree with pretty much everything.
Who isn't?
Yeah. But so my view on the 3-year-old crop this year, which I've had for a while, and I might as well stick with it, is I don't see, other than maybe Essential Quality, who's not running in the TVG.com Haskell, I don't see a true standout. Like, each Derby prep seemed to be won by a different horse. Each Triple Crown race was won by a different horse. So, again, other than Essential Quality, who won the Bluegrass and the Belmont, I don't really see a horse that I'm, completely scared of. Hot Rod Charlie ran very well in the Belmont. I'm not running away from him terrified. So, like Frank, I'm going to take a shot with a new face. I do think Following C is that new face. I find it very interesting that Todd Pletcher is running him here. if he wants to, I think Todd said something like he wants to obviously see if he's a 2-turn horse, so this is his chance to prove it. This is a hell of a race to prove it. And the Grade 1 Haskell against 3, second place finishers in Triple Crown races. I've heard that Todd Pletcher will be here on site. That's something that I believe in. I don't think Todd is coming down to Saratoga for a Monmouth Park crab cake, with all due respect. So I think Following Sea is going to run a big race. The only thing that I will add in there is I did a little reconnaissance yesterday on the Monmouth Park backside. I really like how Mandaloon looks. He didn't look bad at all when he came and won the Pegasus, but I think he looks a lot better. And to me, that fits an appropriate narrative of he was cranked for the Derby, was maybe 80% for the Pegasus, and now is cranked back up. He looks a lot better than he did when he was here for the Pegasus.
That's a great piece of information on Mandaloon, because he's going to have to run better to beat these beasts than the performance we saw that day. But maybe there's reason to, and Brad Cox certainly excellent when it comes to spotting his runners and having them peak at the right time. Mandaloon, we discussed him as the second place finisher in the Derby. He may well yet get the race. We may have a Derby winner in Mandaloon. He's probably not a horse you want to be overlooking too much. I'll chime in with the Midnight Bourbon case, which is, and Frank won't like to hear this either, but I'm not going to say he was best in the Preakness at all, but I'm going to say he was a lot closer to Rombauer than the margin of victory suggests, simply because of the classic Andy Beyer trip handicapping angle of how he attended and attacked that hot pace before being run down by a perfect trip winner. Now, the fact that Rombauer won by 3, I think you probably still have him coming out best, even if you want to be a contrarian. But I think Midnight Bourbon could get that kind of trip. And while I totally get the Following Sea love, and for me, he's probably, you gave I think you said $960 as the price. For me, I'd even want a little bit more, simply because as talented as he is, I mean, it is, as Brian alluded to, a heck of a thing to go from 6.5 to 9 against this kind of company. Now, they don't do so lightly, and they know what they're doing. I'm just saying I'd want to make sure I was compensated a little bit in price. We're going to do a whole show. We're going to do another roundtable about the Monmouth Stakes. We're going to have Dallas Baker from the Bet Makers and Pat Cummings of Thoroughbred Idea Foundation on, and we're going to talk about the race from a fixed odds perspective. So that might be an interesting conversation for folks to get a look at what the international prices are, and we'll see if they can apply them. Internationally, there is a little bit more given in the Following Sea price, but I'm just tempted. I think all 4 horses have a huge chance, and I'm just tempted to mess around with the 2 who are the better prices in the race. But Frank, to get back to something else you said, I think that's a great point about people wanting to question the results of things. But I think the biggest thing that we as a culture, as in horse playing and Twitter and in life, have lost the ability to do is to accept the idea that reasonable people can disagree about things. It's okay.
100%. It's an absolute fact. But I just find that it's almost like I'm waiting for a firm's Triple Crown to be questioned because how the rail was back then. So, this is the thing that drives me nuts. Every race seemingly gets questioned, and it's almost like we're trying to justify our own opinion or selections afterward. If I see a horse that wins by 3 lengths and the horse that was second put away the speed and the rest of the speed were nowhere to be found, yet this horse is on the wrong lead staggering home, I'm sorry, he wasn't the best horse. And I'm not suggesting that's the case with either of those examples, but I mean, I've seen races where the horse is like literally ready to lay down, and all of a sudden people are trying to say, oh, he ran the best race. Look where the horses who battled with him were at the end. Why can't we just accept that sometimes a good horse wins on a good rail, a bad rail, a medium rail, a solid center of the track? Yes, I realize that there are great handicappers who exploit these things, and you deal with a lot of contest players who are very sharp and are winning consistently, something I'm not familiar with at the windows. So I understand that, but let's maybe believe that really good horses, probably their form in these races is something we can believe. It's one thing if we're talking about a maiden 40. It's another thing when we're talking about Grade 1 competition. And remember, Essential Quality didn't get the dream situation. Yeah, he moved into the pace, but he moved 4 wide. And according to we should get the how many yards did he run further than the others? And I'm not saying that he buried his competition. Hot Rod Charlie ran his eyeballs out, and I've watched him work at Santa Anita, and like I'm going to be so happy if he wins, because these are connections that we needed him for this race. I mean, let's be honest, it's $1 million race. They're going to get 600,000 if they win, but us as Monmouth Park, we absolutely needed these horses to show up to make this once again the marquee race for 3-year-olds that it is.
Let's talk about some of these other stakes.
I've got ready. I'm ready for you.
You're ready. You're ready to rock and roll. We'll start. We'll throw the ball back in Brian's direction to talk about our first graded stake of the day, which goes at 1:52 Eastern. Just to let folks know, it's a 12 o'clock first post on Saturday. You can get involved straight away in that win early pick 5. This is the anchor leg of that popular wager. 3 and up fillies and mares in the grade 3 matchmaker, a mile and an eighth on the turf. Brian, who do you like?
I'm going to go with Nay Lady Nay. She threw in a clunker last time and was a loaded Eatontown. I love that Paco Lopez gets back aboard on Saturday. If you look through her PPs, Nay Lady Nay has been ridden by Paco Lopez 3 times in her career. Twice of those were at Monmouth, and she's won all of those races. So this might just be a scenario where Paco fits her like a glove. He gets back aboard her today. She won this race last year, did Lady Nay, Lady Nay, coming off of a clunker at Churchill, so maybe this is a similar scenario. She clearly likes Monmouth Park turf, and Juliet Foxtrot, clearly the class of the race. She's just a horse that, in my handicap, I'm with Frank. You don't need to be coming at it with a second mortgage to bet my handicapping selections, but I've kind of earmarked Juliet Foxtrot as a horse that doesn't win enough for me, so I'm going to gladly play against her with Nay Lady Nay.
All right, the 6 for Brian in there. I am going to go with number 7, California Queen. I felt that the first tries in the U.S. probably too far. On her best, she's an excellent finisher. With 4 Chad Brown runners in here, I'm hoping maybe Juliet isn't as loose as she appears. I will also be using her. How do you see this one, Frank?
I think Juliet Foxtrot, if she's 8-5, you're going to have to strap me down in the booth and not walk over to the window over there to get a piece of that. I think she absolutely lays over this field. She wins easily. Nay Lady Nay is a nice filly. She was very game when she won between horses last year with this, or the year before, whenever it was. It's all a time warp to me. But she ran very well here at Monmouth Park. And Great Island, I like it 5-6, too cold. I'll give you a horse I'm against. I'm against Always Shopping. I like to always give them a little extra something. That'll probably give her another gear late. I'm against her in this spot. I'm going for a cold try, 5-6-2. Not just because it's a decent area code as well.
Let's talk about race number 8, the grade 3 Monmouth Cup, going a mile and an eighth on the dirt. Frank, we'll keep it with you for a quick thought on this one.
A quick thought is I'm absolutely against number 3, Night Ops. He's owned by a friend of mine, so I don't have to feel bad. Steve Landers, a very cool guy. This horse is a stone cold hanger. No offense, Steve. I can't live with him at all. Loomed, not enough late. I'm going to go with number 5, Dr. Post, putting the blinkers on. I've always liked him. He needs to improve to turn the tables on New York traffic. I went 5-4. Number 1, Bal Harbor. I actually liked him last time when watching that race from California. He didn't run as badly as the line looks, and he needed it. 5-4-1-7. Bank at the New York bred to complete your superfecta. Just punch it once. It only costs you $1.
I like Dr. Post as well in this spot, and I think that you can give another shot. It's a big difference between the grade 1 level and the grade 3 level. Bumped at the start and just didn't show the form. I think the setup is going to be nice, and the horse is working forwardly, notably with following C. So I don't know if you believe in the concept of the intra-card collateral form boost with the workmates, but it is something I do pay attention to from time to time, and I will definitely be moving up following C if Dr. Post puts on a show in the Monmouth Cup. Brian, who do you like in here?
I'm going to make a 3-for-3 for Dr. Post. There's a few horses in here that just don't win enough for me, including New York Traffic, who lost a horse who was 75-1 last time, so I can't endorse that one. But the one horse I am going to endorse at a price, maybe if this race just sets up where he gets loose on the lead, is the 6 American Dubai, to get back to that race he ran 2 back where he just ran a hole in the wind. But Dr. Post on top for me.
All right, I like it. Let's talk about our 10th race on Saturday. It's the grade 3 Molly Pitcher fillies and mares, going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. And I'm going to throw it right back to you, Brian, to get your thought on this one.
All right, I'm going to get loopy in this race and just try to take a shot here and hope that I get lucky. On the same kind of, what I've been saying for the last few races, you go through this race, for me, there's just not a lot of proven winners here. I started on Mrs. Danvers thinking that maybe her best race is better than everybody else's, but with all due respect to her, she's not a proven winner, especially in 2021. She hasn't won yet. I went to our Super Freak thinking she might get a good trip. She ran huge in this race last year. She's far from a proven winner. So I'm going to take a shot with the 5 Banks thing. This won 4 in a row, all against New York breds. In New York, obviously, a lot of her races have come on a wet surface, so maybe that's helped her, but she did win by 4 3/4 lengths on her lone dry dirt track. You know, she's stepping way up in class, obviously, in a grade 3 race. But again, it's not like there's any killers in here. There's a lot of what I deem, again, respectfully proven losers in here. So this horse has won 4 in a row. Hopefully her will to win can get her to the winner's circle at a big price.
That nose for the wire can come in handy, and at likely odds of 10 to 1 or higher, I can absolutely see that case. Frank, what do you think about this one?
Very similar opinion to Brian. Bad news for you, Brian. I'm sorry, but I went 1-5-2. So the 2 that Brian really touched on, I agree, and I agree with his points. Our Super Freak is in good form. She was a solid second here last year. You'll appreciate that since I didn't have a printer to print out the PPs, I went the Brad Thomas style, which is writing out my thoughts, which is how he does every seminar with me. There's nothing funner than watching Brad read stuff like that. But our Super Freak is my top pick. Mrs. Danvers, I would want to see that she has been to a psychiatrist since early in her career. She's a nutcase and she does not behave herself. I want to see some therapy for her because she has immense talent, and I'm a fan of hers very much so. There's something about her that it just lures you in over and over again. I went 1-5-2. I'm against number 3, Vault. She was extremely dull here last year, and I would want her to completely turn it around before I even thought about her.
As good as Brad Thomas is, maybe we should all be doing that. I mean, come on.
Well, Brad's a genius. I mean, he was giving some stats the other day from another circuit, and I asked him where this information comes from, and he said it's all handwritten at home. I mean, I can't even believe the way that guy operates, but his wealth of knowledge. And by the way, since we're on a handicapping show, go to monmouthpark.com every day and look up Brad's picks if you really want to win at the track. I always say his second pick is more dangerous than his top pick. But his top pick might profit you more. They don't come in as often because they're usually big prices. But that guy is in a league of his own, and I pat him on the back daily because he has earned that respect.
He's fantastic, and I absolutely second checking out his picks. And I'll also give a shout out to our man Eric Solomon, who's been doing a great job over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com, covering Monmouth every day. Lots of good information
nice work,
out
Eric.
there. Yep, to help you in your form study. Quickly, my thought on this one. I was a little interested in the 9 Graceful Princess. Didn't appear to care for the slop when stuck down inside at Delaware last time. And even though it's meant to rain in Saratoga, I believe it is meant to be sunny for you guys down the shore. This runner, Graceful Princess, has a strong number to run back to. And the switch from Saez to Rosario is just very interesting in terms of how stylistically different I perceive them to be. I think this runner can maybe attend the pace and pull it out in the finish with the great hands of Rosario up there. So another interesting race. And now we'll talk about the other Grade 1 action on the day before we let you guys get out of here. It's the United Nations 3 and up, 1 3/8 on this Monmouth turf. And Frank, we'll ask you what you think here.
All right, I'm going to go with a long shot in here, and there are a couple of long shots that I think are strongly worth considering. Number 5, Fantasioso, 12 to 1 on the morning line for Ignacio Correas and Miguel Mena aboard. This is an Argentinian. Look at the form. This horse was second in the Belmont Gold Cup. Was soundly defeated by Arklow, Arklow is always a favorite. Arklow was very dull here last year, I might add. He's very honest. He's very consistent. And on paper, it's hard to throw him out, particularly if you're playing, exactas and tries. But this horse was 8 to 1 against him when he ran over at Churchill, and he didn't run that badly. He's going to have to improve from there. But the number 4, Imperador, is actually a horse I bet against Arklow that day for Paulo Lobo, who's another huge price. I liked him in the Louisville, so I would never want to see him, having, getting away with winning at a big price. And the 10, which I didn't want to be too late to this podcast. I wanted to make sure I said it correctly. Listen to the great Johnny I's call. Very speedy horse, Tribuven or whatever it is. I'll look that up and get it right by race time. The issue I have with him and the concern I have with him is that Epic Bromance in here, who loves this course, is also very fast. Are those two going to basically hurt each other's chances? Arklow's the horse to beat. It's hard to go against him. But throughout his career, I've been fighting Arklow, so I'm not going to pick him now. He's a legitimate favorite, other than his dull effort last year. I think the 5 and the 4 are possibles to either win it or be very close to pulling off.
I'll chime in with my opinion next. It's pretty darn uncreative, but I agree. The 10, Tribuven, the fastest numbers, a probable pace edge. I think has the speed they can try to go, and I don't know that they're going to be able to. And assuming the turf is playing at all kindly to speed, I think Tripuven is going to take all the beating. If they go too fast, it'd be Arklow for me. You did note, Frank, that he ran poorly in this race last year, but watching it again, I mean, obviously a big Mike Smith fan, when you could make a 17-hour highlight reel of all the great rides he's given, probably longer. That ride won't be on it. I'm just going to leave it at that.
We're allowed to have an opinion, of course.
And then, but the other thing about Arklow is his last 4 races on figures are just much better since the addition of blinkers. So I think it's possible that he's just thriving at this point in his career. So I'm chalk. It'll be one of us will do very well in this race, I'm going to guess. Let's let Brian break the tie. What do you think about the United Nations?
Yeah, I've never been the biggest Arklow fan either, but just one more point of information from him last year. He was very dull in the UN last year, but that was on 6 days rest. Because of the different COVID schedule. He ran at Keeneland, and then he ran here 6 hours.
I forgot that looking again. So another great excuse.
So, I mean, and, he does, I see the race with a little bit more pace than maybe you do, Pete. I think there could be a speed duel in here, which is rare. Make sure people aren't calling me here.
Well, remember that next time. I'll tell you to mute your phone. You can blame that on me.
No, I don't even know if our phones do mute. But I see this race with some pace, which I'm excited about because, and they call right back. Because the last few United Nations we've had, there hasn't been a lot of speed, and kind of we had one Chad Brown horse that was loose on the lead. I forget his name, and won the UN at like 20-1 just because he went wire to wire maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This race I do see a lot of speed in. So
fantastic.
There you go. Pete for the win. I do see some pace in this. I think it's going to be a fairly run race. It does set up for Arklow, but again, just because I've kind of never been on him, I can't go on him this time. So I'm going to try a different long shot than Frank. I'm going to go the 3, Serve the King. Another one for Chad Brown. Has run well here in the past. He ended 2020 with a 97 buyer here, running second to another Chad Brown horse in the Monmouth Stakes. Off a long layoff. He didn't run all that well last year or last time out in the Monmouth Stakes, but now second off a layoff, switching to Paco Lopez. I think there's a decent shot that he can run well if he can, run the longer distance, which I think he can with his pedigree, and I think the 8 Masterpiece for Chad as well. I'm going to box the 3-8.
All right, 3-8 for Brian. There you have it. Great stuff, guys. Can't wait to check out all the goings-on the TVG Haskell Day program. See, you got me doing it now. It's a great card.
Do the right thing.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to check it out. And can't wait to have you guys back on again soon.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you so much, Pete. Honored to be on the podcast. Let's hopefully do a little better than last time. You never want to remind people, but that last performance of handicapping was one to be forgotten ASAP.
It happens to all of us. All right, we're going to segue you guys out, and we're going to bring in our next guest who is in the green room, and that is Drew Coatney, back with us after a very nice performance with the Woodbine Pick 6. Yesterday, I don't know if you hit the pick 6. You had to get pretty spready to do it, but I'm sure you had some nice winners.
Yeah, we did. We did pretty good. We got in. You and I gave out, I think, $190 exacta across the 4 horses we gave out in one of the legs. So yeah, I think we gave out all of the winners. Actually, I think.
I just don't know I don't know if we can. If there were 3 Bs, we can't really claim it. We have to go back and look.
Right. Exactly.
Because some of the races we were pretty spready, but the fact that we at least listed the 2 horses that made it pay big. It was what, like 2,600 for 20 cents. I mean, it wasn't a bad performance by us.
And the wise guy move was, which Eric Bialik had tweeted out, was opening day of Saratoga, I think, detracted a little bit from this mandatory payout. And I think they had a 16 or 15% positive expectation in terms of takeout. So I think you could have gotten away with one there, especially on the payout, if you really hammered it like some of our friends like Tommy Hammer likes to do.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting note and something to pay attention to for horse players. When you have these mandatory payouts, maybe especially in unusual situations, you have an opportunity potentially to have more money go out than goes in. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all that often, but it's one of the reasons we try to pay attention to these bets. But the fact of the matter is, Drew, most of the people listening don't care about how we did yesterday. They want to hear about Saturday and hope we do well then. I actually accidentally, I'm just going to spring this on you, I accidentally looked at race number 7, even though we were meant only to talk about the late pick 4. Did you happen to look at that one yet, or should I just give my quick selection there?
I did not. While you're talking, actually, I'll look
see if
at
you have
that.
a notes horse. Yeah, see if you have a notes horse or something. It's not going to be a big price, but number 5, Living in the 6, makes a whole lot of sense. That was a good comeback race. You and I have been talking about the second off a layoff horses at Monmouth, and that race has already gotten a form boost from Lorena, who came back to win a stakes race, one of the preps for the Woodbine Oaks. Living in the 6 just looked like an obvious contender. Figure, especially the fixed odds listeners, might be a good one to try to lock in a price on. Did you have any notes horses in there or anything? Or if not, let's just proceed directly to race number 8.
Let's proceed directly to race number 8.
I like
Pause
it.
here. Hold on. I gotta do something.
Okay, you do something while I set it up. We've got 3 and up filly and mare allowance race going 6.5 on the turf. I'll have to give Drew the cue about when you walk away from the computer. You're meant to mute before you do so, but hopefully it's going to be okay. And this is a race where I thought there was another standout, the number 6, Helen Wild, the only one in for the tag, and I thought looked potentially loose on pace figures. This is a race that Timeform US has coded as favoring the horses who are going to be on or near the lead. It's all about number 6, Helen Wild for me. Drew, who do you like in this one?
Yeah, and sorry to walk away here for a second. Yeah, Helen Wild I do like. I think this is a really tough race. I'm going to go through a couple here. I don't have too many strong opinions, but Nantucket, number 5, Nantucket Red shouldn't go overlooked at 20-1. Could be anything with a bit of the trainer change, the freshener, and has some of the respectable back class, and will be a massive price. And also the number 8, Roman Dioro. So you could go quite a lot of ways. There is some rain projected, so just pay attention if this one gets moved off of the track. The last one I wanted to mention here as I'm searching my PPs for this one here, bear with me for a second, is the number 1, Fly So Pretty. I think this is going to be my top choice here, and as I get my notes organized, is going to have the second off the break, stalked 4 lengths back in that race, with which a lot of horses are coming back here today, and struggled to change leads early down the lane, and once did really shot out of a cannon. And when you see those wide moves and still energy down the lane, that kind of has my attention, especially coming second off for Cassie. So at 6-1, you're getting a heck of a price and a good post draw. So number 1, Fly So Pretty, my top choice, as well as the number 6, Helen Wild, number 5, Nantucket Red, and the number 8, Roman Dioro. Probably all A's, maybe Nantucket Red and Roman Dioro become a B.
So run me down just the numbers in order.
Yep. We will go 1, 6, and then we'll use B's as 5, 8.
Okay, beautiful. 1, 6, and then the B's 5, 8 for Drew. And with that, we'll move on to race number 9. We've got maidens, a big purse for 3 and up maidens, going 7 furlongs on the synthetic, and Drew will keep it with you.
Yeah, I'm locked up in a cold single here to number 3, Lakeshore Drive. It's a bet back horse for me that had a terrible break leaning on the outside horse. Jockey had to pull up, settle, just completely blew the break, and then steadied again as began to make a move into the far turn, made that big move, and then was against the pace flow and a bit too wide. So a little greenness down the lane, preventing the better placing. But next time out, this trainer goes from an 8% first-time starter to 16% second-time starter. So the number 3, Lakeshore Drive, overall on figures and that bad trip, I think we'll be able to get a bit more race luck, especially with the inside post draw.
Nothing to add. I mean, you nailed it. Just exactly the horse I like for the reasons I like. Was this one? This one was in my mind. That I knew about that trip, in a way that suggests maybe you had put it as one of your horses to watch on for the free newsletter. Is that possible?
That is correct. And actually, there's 2 more in the newsletter that are racing earlier. We'll mention those at the end of the show here.
Okay, don't let me forget that. Loop back. Folks interested in getting that horse to watch email. I've had a couple people randomly, Drew, come up to me at Saratoga and telling me how much they're enjoying it. Of course, then they want more. They're like, well, what about, can you have some New York runners in there every week? I'm like, I don't know. Nick Tamara's a busy man, people. I don't know. And so am I. I don't know what you want me to do. We'll try to get some New York runners in there. But if you want to check it out, inthemoneypodcast.com/email. That's the link for our free newsletter that Tyler Wisman was doing a fantastic job with. And Drew, now it's another job that's fallen in your lap, at least for a minute.
Yeah, we wear many hats around here. Today, I'm actually hatless for once in a while, and you can see the haircuts needed. But yeah, no, we're all wearing hats. We all switch them around here.
All right, let's move on to our next race after all the agreement there. Race number 10. We've got a 3-and-up allowance going 1.25 miles on the turf, and a horse that I've been waiting for to run back is number 2, Holyfield, who I think surely needed the run last time. I really just trust the connections. Looking at this pedigree, I wouldn't think, 1.25 miles is definitely going to be the thing for Holyfield, but I trust Catherine Day Phillips implicitly. I think Holyfield is going to be either loose or get a very nice trip on or near the front, and it's going to take all the beating. What do you like in here?
Yeah, the number 2 for me as well. Town Cruise was just a little bit too loose in that last race, and no one could chase that horse down late. And then the number 4 Piece of Acadi, I think coming out of that same race, was the one who made that move to blow up the race around the far turn and grinded well, considering all the ground loss and wide travel that one had to take. And it's important to note, too, that the 8.5 furlong on the outer is still 1 turn. So now they're going to move to the longer distance. That's a goofy configuration at 1.25 miles. So you do have that first turn, but again, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. They're not going to be going fast. So don't pay too much attention to that first turn in this configuration. But again, I'm going to go with the number 2, Holyfield, and then with an A, equal A, the number 4 Piece of Acadi. Nothing creative here, Pete.
As far as we're concerned, we're hoping that Holyfield can land the knockout punch. Oh, my goodness. I had to say it.
Well, hey, that's perfect, because in the next race number 11, going 6.5 furlongs, maiden claimers for 40. Speaking of punch, my top choice being number 2, One Punch Charlie at 30-1.
I got to hear this case. I mean, this has happened before where a horse that I X'd out, you make a case for, and I even after the case, I'm like, I can't really see it. And then the horse at least hits the board, and some of them have won. Give me the case on One Punch Charlie, a horse who will surely get you paid if this one comes in.
Yeah, and this is how we're going to get paid in this sequence. Go back and watch the replay, and this one stalked well, like a half length back, kind of like half wheeling in bicycles. Tour de France going on right now. Half wheeling is a thing that happens in bicycling when you're just trying to keep up with the next person and you keep upping the tempo until you guys burn each other out. Same thing here with One Punch Charlie. I think it was a bit half wheeling with it going 3 wide and never was really asked down the lane and looked like a workout, but still was keeping up with the entire pack. That then ended up fading a little bit at the end. So it was a little confusing of a running. And you look through the workout tab, and it's pretty darn impressive considering this horse is going to be 30-1. And we didn't even get to see this one run really, and earned a figure that's competitive with the rest of this bunch, and is a 4-year-old as well. So has the upside, has the workouts, and that race was not bad. And so I'm not sure this one we will see at 30-1. 2 others that I just want to use is the number 12 Super River and the number 10 Gray Shot. Starting with the 12, just had a bad trip, a couple subtle moves up, and just trying to keep up with the pack. And I think gave up at the top of the stretch and just kept on terms and said, hey, look, we're going to pack it in for another day. And then number 10 Gray Shot just missed the break and jogged around entirely. On debut, had a good run and a foundation to build on, so we'll look back to that as a stepping stone for this third start for the number 10 Gray Shot.
I like your case on One Punch Charlie, by the way, and I was going to mention those workouts if you didn't. The pretty quick looking 5 furlong drills. We'll see what they mean, but at the price this one's going to be, I will be throwing in for sure. I was pretty boring though. I like number 8 Fire Knight, one that's supposed to improve second time for Josie Carroll out of a live looking debut run, and I also like the addition of Lasix I think if you've got some prices heading up to this point, I would recommend not getting beaten by the 8 Fire Knight in race number 11. Let's go back to those horses to watch that you wanted to highlight from earlier. Drew, what races are they in and who are they?
Yeah, we're going to go back to race 4, a 10 claimer at 6.5 furlongs on the all-weather. And we're going to go with the number 9, Anita Grigio at 6-1. Just had a horrific trip last time. Just got stuck down on the rail. And if you want to see what getting pinned on the rail looks like, that's a great example. As they start entering the far turn, the jockey's having to kind of, throw off the cadence of the horse entirely as the horse is trying to keep up with the front runners and just running extremely inefficient. And there wasn't a ton of speed there, so should be able to stalk and just make an easy one run, sit wide, not run into trouble. And the figures fit with this bunch. And at 6-1, when your figures fit, you had a terrible trip last out. I feel like that's a solid bet. Now, if we see 2-1, bets off. I think 5-1-ish feels about value for us here on number 9, Anita Grigio in race number 4.
Race number 4, number 9. I like it. Race 4. We'll include this for the plus listeners in their little recap email. That's one of the fun features of In the Money Plus. You get in grid pick format the information that's given out on the shows for free. But it's nice because, somebody was telling me a story about driving up trying to take notes the other day. It's like, don't do that. That's not a good idea. I don't want to be responsible for that. Just sign up for In the Money Plus, and then you get all those picks sent to you, as well as the extra shows and the actionable stats info from Matt Vagvolgyi. To learn more about that, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. Did you have one more, Drew?
I do. Race number 6. And again, there's rain forecasted, and I believe they'll still run this horse even if it comes off the turf. Doesn't change my opinion one bit either way. It is race number 6, an optional claimer for 40, going 6 furlongs on the outer turf. And that would be the number 3, Super Hot. Could just be loose here. And there's a nice jockey upgrade, has the tactical speed, even if can't get to the lead, has a nice inside draw, gets the second off the bench effort. And please don't leave off any verticals, because this one's hit the board 13 out of 21 starts. And that trip last time has me backing this one pretty big. And the trip note I have is amazing to still run, amazing run staying in the 4-path with a 4-horse dueling. Stayed on well as the pace fell apart, did all the dirty work, and still had a winning race. So was traveling 4 wide on the lead and still was able to hang on late. As the pace collapsed around this one. So you may be able to get away with something really good here on the number 3, Super Hot. The morning line is 9-2. So value feels like 3-1, 5-2. You have to be selective. I think that's one thing I'm starting to learn in the Woodbine meet is, you see some of these shorter prices, but is that really reflective? And we won't even get into the value lineouts discussion. That could be,
That's for another day.
We'll save it.
Yeah, running short of time and should wrap things up. And we'll be back on the late week In the Money Players podcast right after this. You've heard a lot about Monmouth Park's Saturday card on this show. Stakes races abound. We're going to be doing a special round table as well. It's a great day to be paying attention to Monmouth, but you should be paying attention to Monmouth on the regular. With full fields and big payouts, Monmouth Park has returned as a place to profit. Monmouth's Friday night twilight cards are the perfect place to build that weekend bankroll. Live action from Monmouth Park starts at 5 p.m. Eastern every Friday as Saratoga winds down. You can pay attention to those races. And then weekend action at Monmouth begins typically at 12:15 Eastern, and that's where they kick off the 50-cent Win Early Pick 5. Start your weekend days with a bang by playing the 15% takeout Win Early Pick 5 every Saturday and Sunday. One of the nation's first Pick 5s every weekend. Big fields, competitive racing, big paydays at beautiful Monmouth Park Racetrack. And of course, special call out to this weekend where they deviate a little bit. First post is 12 o'clock, and you've got a loaded Haskell Day card. For more analysis, you can go to monmouthpark.com or check out Eric Solomon's excellent analysis over at inthemoneypodcast.com. That's going to do it for this edition of the show, and what a show it was. So happy to have so many great guests like Matt Vagvolgyi and Drew Coatney and Scotty McKeever. Really fun and fantastic times. Can't forget, of course, our buddies from Monmouth, too, Brian Skirka and Frank Mirahmadi. Very, very good to get to catch up with everybody ahead of a fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks most of all, though, to all of you, the listeners, for making these shows so much fun to do. And a special shout out to producer Craig, who will be working overtime, getting this weekend's shows up and running. Oh, I forgot. We're going to put Sean Tugel. We're going to do Baby Talk, I think, as part of the big show. So we got to thank him here as well. Thank you, Sean Tugel. Too many people. I can't even remember them all. But there you go. There you have it. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatel. May you win all your photos.